This is the final word, Australia-Pakistan Daily. Not the World Cup Daily, Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins.
I would have said World Cup Daily for sure.
You would have.
I would have said the Ashes Daily here at Old Trafford.
World Cup, Border Gavaskar. In fact, it's technically the Benno Kadir.
Benno Kadir
Daily, if we want to go down that road.
Why do we do that?
Why don't they have a trophy with their weird hands stamped to it, like they do with the Warren Murley one, where it looks like, I don't know, they got lopped off for some reason.
We should use Benno Kadir more.
Benno Kadir.
Because I don't think anyone's really saying that.
No.
It was only struck in 2022 when we were in Pindi.
No,
That's when the trophy was.
That's right.
Was
first time being contested on Australian soil.
There you go, the Benno Kadir.
Our correspondent Thomas Miles excitedly pointed out. He's pumped about the Benno Kadir. Finally, the two leg spinners who never played against each other and had nothing to do with each other.
Never has there been a bigger fan of the Chappell Trophy. What's
Chapel
it called
Hadley?
again? The Chapel Hadley Trophy.
Yeah.
Sorry, get it wrong there.
Yeah.
Then Tom Miles. And by the way, today is the anniversary of Greg Chappell at Perth making 100 on debut in 1970.
Well,
and Doug Walters in 1965.
Chapel Hadley Trophy is the ultimate job lot because you get all of the Chappells and all of the Hadleys.
Yeah,
you get about 43 people covered by that. So really, they should have the Hanif Muhammad, Mushtaq Muhammad, etc. clan.
Right.
Should have, because then you could have got, say, the five members of that family.
Yep.
The four brothers
Maybe
and their
the
dad.
Harveys.
Yeah.
I don't know how many played. I think only Neil played Test cricket, but the four brothers that played for Victoria.
Yeah.
If there was a tour game between Victoria and the Pakistanis of the 1950s.
What about all of the Harveys? You could
Nine of them.
get Cade Harvey involved, proud Western
why
Australian,
not?
Ian Harvey,
Yeah.
Harvey Sutherland,
Now
Harvey
we're talking.
Keitel, Harvey Danger. Flagpole
Mark
sitter.
Harvey.
All,
Always looking for the head job, as he said once when he kept getting knocked back for coaching
Well,
jobs.
It was the Business Insider headline, wasn't it? There was an American dude whose name was Randall Guy, and the headline was "Randy Guy gets head job." It was a genuine headline. It's actually true. Anyway, we've gone on a divergence already because we're in Perth. Here we are. We're sitting in Perth in front of a tennis court for reasons best known to, I don't know, our props department who didn't get the right sport. You've been at the ground. You've been chatting to captains. You've been looking at the stadium. You've been getting the vibe, getting the general sense of things. But the story of the day, the biggest story of the day, is Usman Khawaja, whose shoes have been banned. He had the slogan written on his shoes that all lives are equal, which was a reference to the Palestine-Israel conflict going on at the moment, and the ICC via Cricket Australia have come through and said no, that's a political slogan. Initially it looked like it might sort of sneak through because shoes are this weird sort of non-committal spot, right? Because players have the kit that they have to wear a certain brand of, but they're allowed to wear whatever shoes they want because they have different shoe preferences and needs depending on what they do. And then it's also like, okay, you can't have advertising on there and you can't have political slogans on there. But his argument is that it's not a political slogan because it's more a general statement in support of human rights across the board, which also happens to apply to people in Palestine who are being brutalised.
Yeah, I think the other shoe said that we didn't see a photograph of, but freedom is a human right. I think that's what, something to that effect anyway. Really interesting day watching the pieces fall into position. Annika Wells, who's the Federal Sports Minister, was strident in her support of Khawaja this morning. The Australian government, along with the New Zealand government and the Canadian government, I think I'm right in saying, have come together today asking for a cessation in hostilities in Gaza. And
after a lot of thinking music, it was sitting there for a few weeks going, would a ceasefire be a good idea? Can't really commit to that yet.
I guess my point by saying that is that, unless I'm misreading it, that's what Khawaja's asking for as well. So he's in line with what the Australian government has said today, and the minister in question, Annika, said that that she believed that this would be in keeping with what the ICC had, because she didn't interpret it, nor did he, clearly, because he's put a video out on social media this afternoon. He interpreted it to be a political statement as much as it was a call for humanitarianism to prevail in that part of the world. It's obviously a terrain that we're not going to have a longer conversation about Israel and Palestine. Don't worry if you're listening to this and thinking that we're going to launch into a 20-minute conversation about peace in the Middle East. That's not what we're going to do. But yeah, I think it's just worth noting that what Khawaja has said today, I think anyway, the way I interpret it, is in line now with government policy. Yet according to CA, because I asked Cummins about this when I interviewed him this afternoon, the match referee Javagal Srinath didn't talk to him about it.
Right.
This didn't come up in their captain's briefing.
Okay.
CA already pretty much dealt with it via their statement earlier in the day.
Right, but they must have had some urging from the ICC, presumably.
Or maybe, but maybe not as well. I guess my point is maybe CA just cut it off at the pass and thought, this is going to end up in a real shit show. We're going to get involved at this stage and try and 24 hours out from the test match ensure that it doesn't boil over
Yeah.
and turn opening day of the season, of the men's test season, into something that'll be, well, something very different.
Well, and it's something where, Khawaja has put himself in a position of a lot of scrutiny, a lot of people giving him pelters and all the rest of it, which takes a certain amount of bravery to do that, and particularly as a Muslim Australian, he's more likely to cop shit for it than anybody else, or a different level, a different tenor of shit that he's likely to cop for it. So, I think I have to respect the fact that he's been willing to put himself out there and say, well, this is something I believe in, and this is something I have to say something about because of my profile. I can't just play a test match and pretend it's not happening.
You can't question his authenticity. He is a well-considered man with a lot of experience and he's talked a lot about discrimination in the last few years. Like, he's felt more comfortable talking about wider issues, I suppose, is my point there. And he, cliched as it is, means what he says and says what he means. This isn't some confected thing. He's been quite vocal on social media over the last few weeks, and in a way, it's not unexpected that he would want to use the centre point or the centrepiece event of the first test of the summer to advance his position. I saw a comment in reply to your spot-on tweet that no matter what you think, whether it should take guts, it does take guts to do what Khawaja's done, saying, this is proof, see, all lives matter. See, he said all lives matter. Isn't that, talk about a disingenuous bullshit there, if ever there is it.
Being late to the train by about 3 years.
Yeah, but also, trying to position Khawaja, this is not even remotely delving into something that we've had that conversation around with Black Lives Matter in 2020 and 2021.
And that was always the point of the slogan. If you missed the bus on this one, the point of the slogan Black Lives Matter was that all lives matter.
Precisely,
and that Black lives are being treated like they mattered less, and still are. That's the case broadly across the world still. So, yes, the idea that all human life is equal, it should not be controversial, but it is controversial because it gets twisted by whoever it is. A humanitarian statement is not inherently political, but people who act against humanitarian interests, or organisations or bodies or governments who act against it, are political, and so you get subsumed by politics if you're acting in humanitarian interests. You can't help but become political by proxy.
Yeah, and even if you want to declare that political anyway, this is where, since social media, 20 years ago, this probably wouldn't have happened, right? And now athletes control their own story. They post as they see fit. They're not having all of their comments funneled through the conventional gatekeeping mechanisms of a newspaper or a radio station or a TV network or whatever. They're self-publishing every day anyway. So you can't really deny athletes, or anyone for that matter, the ability to express themselves how they see fit about politics or whatever it is. And Cummins has cultivated that within his dressing room, and he said as much today, that he feels that provided people act in a dignified and respectful way, and you can't doubt that Khawaja's done that, even if you don't agree with his position. It's not as though he's doing
incendiary.
It's a subtle but forceful stating of his views, but respectful at the same time. And his video this evening, I thought was a classy production as well.
And it doesn't make a jot of difference if you stop him wearing the shoes, if he's able to put a 2-minute video out stating exactly what he feels. So that's where we are. That's the position. It's sort of an interesting spot to be in cricket-wise, because you can talk about all of this because there's no conversation really about what the Australian team's going to be. It's such an easy pick. The only question was whether it would be a Green or a Marsh situation at 6, whether they reward Mitch Marsh for the batting form that he showed in England, or whether they want Green to be the quicker, nastier, bouncier, taller bowler. But so we're pretty sure they're going with Marsh. Aside from that, everything picks itself. And
line in for Murphy really is the only change from the last test that we covered with the Australian team back in July. And Cummins was pretty good on this too, about the World Test Championship and the need for them to make up the lost ground. They win the first 2 tests in England, but they lose 2 of the next 3, and then there's the deductions of points for slow over rates and so on. They need to make this summer count. They need to go 5 for 5 to make sure that their percentage is high enough to get back into the top 2. So, we spoke yesterday on our weekly show about the big 3 quicks and what that means, but also for wanting to picking Marsh when he's in form rather than Green as the investment in the future. I think that all makes sense. It's good that the World Test Championship has enough authority that the Australian team are thinking about that this far out from we're 18 months away from the next final,
And it'll be the 24th test by my count that is Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, Lyon for that bowling group together, which I did count it up a couple of years ago. There's a Garfield Sobers quartet around there that was maybe 22 off the top of my head, but I don't have that in front of me. So I think they'd already gone past that to be the most prolific sort of the bowling quartet, the frontline 4 bowlers who played the most matches together. They'll be hoping to go 5 from 5 if they can through the summer.
Well, Lyon's on 496 wickets. He spent a long time in the 390s. He's motored to the 490s and cut off that Lords with that calf tear that kept him out of the last 3.5 Ashes Test matches. But you'd think he'd reach a really important milestone this week to join Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath as the only Australian men with that bauble, which is a pretty big deal when you think about the Lions story. And I suppose we'll get more of a chance to talk about that through the week. The other side of this, Pakistan, they've lost 14 consecutive Test matches in Australia. I knew it was bad. I didn't realise it was quite that bad. No draws in that either.
No.
Daniel Rasool, our colleague from Cricinfo, wrote a good piece overnight saying that of the 14, 4 were by an innings, another 4 were by 9 or 10 wickets, and another 4 were by 170 runs or more. So pretty much all of them have been heavy margins.
And then the 2 heartbreakers, the one in Hobart in 1999 and the dodgy one in Sydney in 2010.
The Cameron Akmal Test match. But yeah, so there's that history weighing against them. The one I've kind of talked myself
back on the selection panel.
Yeah, right.
Cameron Akmal.
Yeah, well, his brother, isn't it? It was Umar who ended up.
It was Umar who got pinged. But yeah, there were.
I thought it was Umar Akmal who was coming onto the.
No. It was Cameron who came on with Selman Butt.
Right.
Who's not there anymore.
Fun. But yeah, I through the course of the last 48 hours, I've talked myself into this, like I always do. Every time New Zealand or Pakistan are here, this time it'll. But
I promise, baby. This time I'm going to change. I'm going to put together a big first inning score and then adapt to the conditions.
I just want them to bat first. What I want is Pakistan to wake up in the morning. They're playing 2 inexperienced seamers. They've named their side. They're not playing Noman Ali. A lot hinges on Shaheen Shah Afridi. Hassan Ali not playing. Mohammad Wasim Jr. not playing. They're going a different way. And I just hope they wake up tomorrow, and despite the juice that might be in the track, according to the curator, although we always hear that in Perth, there wasn't any juice last year, that they win the toss,
if there was
first.
Juice, it was Tetra Pak juice. It was like that dead, flat, lifeless, like heat-treated orange juice.
And they do what they did in Gaul and Colombo back in July, where they batted at a really quick tempo. Babar Azam said they were inspired by what England have been doing, and that's good, right? You know, they got beaten by England making time for themselves in Pakistan to win last December, and Pakistan did a similar thing in Sri Lanka. They won their most recent test by an innings, 200 plus runs, and you know they've got Saud Shakil, who's averaging 140 plus this calendar year with a couple of centuries, a double 100 against Sri Lanka. Abdullah Shafiq, who I said when we were in Pakistan 2 years ago will make 10,000 test runs. He made a double 100 in his most recent start as well. The experience of Barber, of course, who's now got a body of work against Australia, which wasn't the case when they came here 4 years ago. Imam Al-Haq, lots of experience against Australia. Shah Massoud, who's in form at the right time, the muscle memory of making runs last week. I interviewed him today as well, and it's like he's been international. He's not captain a test match, but you speak to him, it's like he's done 50 of them. He's so at peace. He's such a cool, calm, collected dude. I don't know. This will probably go nowhere, but I want to believe Fox Mulder.
You've mapped it out. You've given us all the reasons why it could happen. All out 220 tomorrow. All out 220.
If we're lucky,
but I wish it will be different. I hope it will be different. And then, like you say, with what they're doing with the quicks, I mean, Agha Salman being an all-round spinner who can bowl a bit. I mean,
he's had a good year. Made a Test 100 against New Zealand.
But relying on him as a spinner, I don't know. India came here and played 4 quicks in 2018, didn't they? And that didn't work out very well.
True, it should have. From a nice first innings lead there, India, and then Australia kind of came back and won that test. But I mean, Amir Jamal and Kuram Shahzad are the 2 uncapped seamers to work with Shaheen Shah Afridi. Fahim Ashraf named at 8.
Interesting.
He batted, I reckon, 6 or 7 when we last saw him in Test cricket against Australia in Pakistan. So a longer batting lineup, which you can understand against the big 4. But
seeming all-rounders, I don't know, just doesn't convince me. Like, what do you think Fahim Ashraf is going to tear up Australia at Perth because it's a fast bowler's deck?
No.
I don't.
He's a cagey operator, but he's going to be bowling at 125 clicks, and that tends to be the pace that gets monstered. We saw that with Muhammad Abbas 4 years ago. Very skillful operator, very capable bowler.
After destroying Australia in Abu Dhabi on a pitch without a blade of grass on it.
Nothing in it at all.
But he managed to not go so well second time around when David Warner made 335 against him and made him look absolutely pedestrian at Adelaide.
Should we move to the non-existent Final Word Hall of Fame?
Sure, the Hall of Fame, which is brought to you this time around by CBUS Super. For English people, that's superannuation. That's your pension fund. It's what you put money into while you're working so that you can have some money when you stop working.
Celebrating their 40th birthday in 2024, CBUS Super, strong returns over the long term, year after year. Their default investment option, Growth My Super, has delivered strong results for members, returning on average 8.89%, that's a big number, per year since inception nearly 40 years ago. cbussuper.com.au, sort your super out. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. We love them. Click the link. They support us. We should support them. We do support them. Geoff, anything sort of on your mind that might be interesting ahead of the Test match tomorrow?
Just that I went back and read through the full comments of the Chris Matthews interview because we were talking about Christina Matthews saying that, talking about the fact that Justin Langer needed to come down and say that Perth Stadium was a good place to come and play cricket and that everybody should come down. And her thesis being that people here were genuinely still so mad about it that they might not turn up to the Test match, which does seem weird to me. I can't imagine... State parochialism's never made a lot of sense to me. I can't imagine taking it personally if they sacked a Victorian. You know, if Andrew McDonald gets sacked, I might disagree with why he got sacked, but I wouldn't be like, oh, this is an affront to me personally.
16-year-old me, you know, maybe. 39-year-old me, less so.
Less so, exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's where it belongs. But I didn't realise that she played all the hits, and I think Christina Matthews is quite a broad-minded, worldly administrator. Yep. But she played all of the WA resentment hits. We produce all of the mining revenue. You know, I don't think she got into GST allocation. But that was pretty much
horizontal fiscal equalisation at last. Can we talk more about the Commonwealth Grants Commission?
That was hinted at. There was the thing.
How many years has WA been a beneficiary of since it came in? They've been a beneficiary like 80% of the years, I think, and they've been net givers in 20% of the years. Okay. Come on.
It sounds like fishermen, net givers. Nonetheless, all of and being looked down on by the East Coast, and that they think that because we're behind on the time zone, we're behind on decades and all the rest of it. And I just don't think it's real. Like, I just don't, as somebody from the other side of the country, it would never occurs to me to give shit to Western Australians except when they say things like that. That is the only time that it enters my head to make fun of somebody, is when they bring up the imaginary, the sort of the insecurity of thinking that other people are thinking badly of you all the time, when actually we're like, oh, this is quite nice over here. It's all good. This is part of Australia. We don't actually see Australia as split down the middle. Yeah. It's just all part of the same thing.
I'm starting to think that this is one of those situations where the vocal minority are soaking up all the oxygen.
Dictate the story.
Yeah, so had Adam Gilchrist on our show today, and we kind of put a similar question to him, and he's like, yeah, most people don't really care.
Yeah.
And like most reasonable, measured,
right,
you know, considered people are like, yeah, okay, right. Langer got sacked 2 years ago. It was definitely a thing. We've moved on. Langer's repeatedly told people to get on with life, right? He'll be there commentating tomorrow and doing his thing in the usual way. He's not the one who's stirring up trouble. And he's the one who launched the hill thing, which I went and sat on the hill. I went and sat on a beanbag today and recorded the video. And it's fine. It's very small. I don't know how many people, for a lot of marketing, the West Test centimetre perfect kick by Matera. It's quite small. There's probably 20 beanbags and about a dozen deck chairs. So it's kind of similar to when at the Gabba, remember for a few years there, they cut a pool into the bottom deck for a while there. So it's more along those lines and less, the hill as it previously existed at, I don't know, pick your ground, lots of hills around the world. It's not quite like that.
Lots of hills where lots of people fell down them or slipped over trying to take a catch or whatever it was.
This isn't the Tron, Seddon Park with those really steep hills, which I love, by the way, or indeed where we're going to be in March at Hagley Oval in Christchurch with lovely hills.
Yeah, quite shallow hills there. You want the steep hill, then you could do a group costume as the Jamaican bobsled team and you could come flying down that hill. That would be the way to make use of it. Probably not going to happen at Perth Stadium or the telecommunications company that it's named after, who's not in great odour at the moment. I hope the stadium's switched on when we get there tomorrow.
I think that's it, Geoff. cbussuper.com.au, 40th birthday coming up. Love them. And we will be doing a daily program every single night at the close of play, probably at Perth, out in the nets. If you want to come and say good day, we'll just be... Phil Meng came and saw us last year when we were recording. I think he's there tomorrow, actually. I think we're doing a Final Word meet-up in Perth. Want to be part of that? Get in touch with someone that's probably not Geoff or me, because we probably won't be able to organise it ourselves. However, it's happening. Join our Patreon. Join our Discord.
work it out.
Patreon.com/thefinalword. I got to go. I'm tired.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.